Morning, everybody. Answer to the first question, yes, I'm up in a tree. I wanted to come outside where I was spending some time in my Bible yesterday, but the ground is wet and the tree's a little drier. So I want to talk about three different things today. First one, Elizabeth and I went out on a date yesterday, an actual date for like the first time in like 3 or 4 months. Thank you, Rona. So if you have a significant other, take your husband, take your boyfriend, take your wife, take your girlfriend out on a date, an actual date. Restaurants are opening up. Get out there and spend some good quality alone time. Find a sitter, and it's very important. It was really nice. Second thing, I bought a couple of new Bibles, and you may be thinking, oh, good for you. But I want to kind of explain why I bought a couple of Bibles, because I've got the same Bible that I've had for 12 or 13 years. It's getting really worn in, and I've highlighted it up a bunch, and I love it to death. Did I absolutely have to buy a new Bible? No. Did I choose to buy a new Bible? Yes. Why? Well, first reason was because I kind of felt the Holy Spirit prompting me to. So I go to Ollie's. Ollie's is a great place to buy reasonably priced hardback or softback Bibles. I know we're moving a lot to the digital age where you've got it on your phone, but I encourage you to actually have a hard copy or a paperback copy of a Bible. And I found 2 Bibles in particular that I really liked. I'm like, man, can I justify buying 2 Bibles? First of all, I shouldn't have to justify buying a Bible. You know, if I want it and the Lord's telling me to, just do it. But I didn't want to be wasteful either, you know. So I found this one Bible. And the one Bible has a bunch of commentary and questions and answers on the sides and timelines and maps, and doesn't really have a whole lot of space for notes, but it definitely gives me perspective, like outside perspective, but then also like a more educational perspective, and kind of digs a little deeper. It's like a study Bible. It's got a good strong concordance in the back. And so yeah, I really enjoy that Bible for studying and for thinking. And for getting outside perspective. The other Bible I got was a note-taker Bible, and it had a bunch of margins in the side. And I got this to have kind of the perspective of, like, when I read, what am I getting out of this, or what is this saying to me, and to be able to jot and take notes, and so I can go back and I can kind of remember. So now am I going to forsake my old Bible? Like, no. I'm going to use all 3 Bibles. And I'm going to use them for different purposes with different intentions, because I think that it's important that we become well-rounded. And so my intention with one Bible will be to read and to study, not take notes, or if I do take notes, have the other Bible open to take notes in, but just to read, get perspective, to study. The next one is, hey, what is this saying to me? How can I apply it? And I'll take notes in that Bible. And then my Bible that I've had for such a long time, I will read through that and look at all this stuff that I've highlighted and remember, all the things that God has kind of taught me in the past, and just continue to keep those in mind when I read through that. So study, what is this saying to me, and remember what God has already said. So I just thought it was kind of a cool, neat thing, and that's kind of going to be a course of action that I take moving forward, is trying to spend a time in each one of those Bibles for different reasons. And then lastly, when I was out here yesterday underneath the trees, looking at the water across the way, thinking about ants, we live in a very complex world. And if you haven't immersed yourself in nature in a minute, just to see God's beauty all around you, I would recommend taking some time to get out and to just enjoy what God has created. And one of the big things that he was speaking to me yesterday was on scale. Like, sometimes we forget how big and how small and relative, for instance, I got this picture yesterday of like an ant. An ant is really tiny, but his world, we are in a plane. So an ant in a plane. So now, if you've ever been in a plane and you're flying up into the sky and you look down, you just see the earth become seemingly smaller and smaller, but the earth isn't changing in size. It's just perspective, and you're changing your scale and how you look at it. So like when we are probably to the ant what the plane is to the earth. So the ant is living in a completely different world than, I mean, it's the same world, but a completely different world than what we're living in. And then when you're in a plane, you're up so far above the whole world that's down below you. And then you kind of look at the universe and the stars and the sky, and there's a whole world up there. And God sits above that. So it's like we got ant, and then earth, and then atmosphere, and then galaxy, and God. And it made me feel pretty small, but then I remembered, I'm sitting underneath a pine tree, and I'm looking at the pine tree. One pine tree has hundreds of thousands of pine needles on it, and there are hundreds of thousands of pine needles like underneath me and just all over the ground. And I'm in one tiny location in LaPorte, Indiana, underneath 1-2 pine trees, and there are hundreds of thousands of pine needles. And I look and I see 7, 8, 9 different species of trees. And I think I see a bird, and I'm like, man, there are thousands of bird species, if not more. And like, they all have their own ecosystems. They all have their own food sources and food chains, and we have emotions and genes and unique identities, and just the creation that God has created is so complex and so organized. And sometimes we get so wrapped up in our problems that we forget that there's a bigger world out there. And but yet God cares for the details, like the planets, Earth. It's huge, but we also have a very detail-oriented God. So I say that, I say that to be like, hey, problems, whatever that means to you, go out and adore God, minimize your problems, because there's a bigger world out there, and we have a God that loves and cares for us. Or just go out and just admire what He's created. There's a lot of different ways that could be interpreted and could speak to different people, but I know yesterday it was just, I kind of adored God for all of the amazing things that He's created. So peace out, guys. Enjoy your Saturday.